Sustainable business obviously is business that needs to meet the needs of financial performance, the needs of people, and the needs of the natural world around us in order to survive over time. What that really means for us, though, is it means that we need to look at our businesses and look at both the positive and the negative externalities that business creates as we do business. Transparency improves our scrutiny and accountability, but it only comes in an ecosystem where people care about the transparency. And that caring is growing, that caring will continue to grow. That caring is sometimes captured by people like ESG data providers. But really what matters is when business and boards start taking this information and saying, oh, this is how it affects me. Because there's also a lot of useless information that really doesn't tell anybody anything about anything. And having that out there can actually cloud, but sometimes we need to get everything out to be able to start sifting through it and understanding where the gem of knowledge actually lies. So the first thing, and looking at this from a firm or business perspective, is an understanding that competitive knowledge and competitive insight actually is a business advantage. Some companies get this. I was talking to a very large Hong Kong company not too long ago that said, you know what, one of the key values that we get from sustainability investment is it allows us to see issues coming towards us in the future and prepare for them. When you have to invest against something, when it becomes mandatory, usually it's expensive and late. If you can see it coming towards you, can you adjust your product, your process, other things? Those are often the cheap and easy changes that you can make. And guess what? They often can lead into other product, other process, different ways of generating revenue. How do you think about that? So the real question is this kind of information and insight, yes, another thing that we have to kind of make transparent and clear? Or is this actually business information that is competitively valuable, that's understood at the CEO and the board level? So in order to make this stuff more valuable, we need to recognize it for what it is. And that takes time because there is a lot of noise. We have to find the signal there. So as we talk about inclusive economies, to begin with, economies all around the world are different. Right? What's going on in Japan, what's going on in China, what's going on in the United States, what's going on in India are all different. So that we also need to think about different lenses. We need to think about the lens of different issues in those economies and how do these all play out. But at the core of it, what we're really talking about is what business actually does. First of all, jobs. How do we create good jobs? Good jobs mean employment. It means opportunity to invest in your future, the future of your family. The second one is access to goods and services. And sometimes this is around financial services, sometimes it's about access to capital, sometimes this is about low-cost medicines. Like, how do we put the goods and services of our truly bountiful society in front of people? And sometimes that requires different thinking, different business models. How do we work through those issues? And then the last one is, how do we think about the communities in which we're living and working? Because we're all connected. And Hong Kong is a great example of an interconnected community at all levels, on the 20th floor, the 25th floor, and the 32nd floor, and at ground floor, and 3 streets down. How do we steward our communities? How do we think about the least among us? How do we think about the air that needs to blow through our development? How do we bring communities together and help them be part of the world that we're creating and the world in which they have jobs, they have access to goods and services, and their voice through their market is included? Just from a pure business perspective, that kind of diversity and inclusion is actually really, really valuable. From a broader societal perspective, wouldn't you want a marketplace that grows with more people, with more wealth? Wouldn't you want wealth distributed to those who are actually going to purchase your products? That seems pretty clear to me. And if we do that, And if we can figure out how to do that in a sustainable way, that creates long-term sustainable growth. I think shared purpose is actually where we need to be focusing as a starting point. Value will come from that, because purpose is what actually allows us to acknowledge both good and bad. Because as we're going to think about and design the society, the business, what we want to invest in for the future, we need to recognize the challenges, and we need to use those to think about what we want to do and what we want to invest in. So sustainability, if done right, is an incredibly difficult job. Any company, you have to understand that you're balancing the needs of what's going on inside the company and its goals and expectations and needs and financial desires with external expectations. Sometimes that are communicated very weakly, sometimes very strongly. Putting those together can be a balancing game, or it can be a driving game. And sustainability professionals who have real impact have to be able to figure out, when do you drive and when do you balance? If this is in the end all about sustainability reporting and writing reports here in Hong Kong, that's fine, that's good. It's not really going to change too much. If this is about talking about the key issues, persuading senior leadership, you know what, sometimes failing, we can talk, we can make change, and we can drive our businesses to both understanding and through that change. Some of this is going to happen anyway. The world is going down this road. The real question is, you as a professional, how do you lead your company down that road versus how does your company trail others? And let's also be clear, many companies want to trail and follow. That's okay, but your job as a sustainability professional is to push them down the road, maybe a little bit more fast, a little bit more uncomfortable than they would like to go.